And I used it a little bit this week for Liz Truss, and also it's obviously the 13th Doctor, sort of. It's not showing up very well in this light. I'm not sure why. It's a bit dark in here. But basically, this is the end of this wig. It's the end of this wig. I look like a pig, but it's the end of this wig. It's got a good run, but now it's gonna regenerate to something else. This wig has gone, and now Liz Truss has turned into someone else, and Doctor Who's turned into someone else, but we don't know who they are. Everyone says Shooty Gatwa's the next Doctor Who, and we know that he is probably quite soon. But before that, we might get Boris Johnson if we're very, very, very unlucky. But you don't know what's going to happen because these things happen now. You don't know where you are. Liz Truss is gonna regenerate into someone else, and it might be Rishi Sunak, and it might be Penny Mordaunt, but it might be David Tennant, but it might be Shooty Gatwa, but it might not be Jodie Whittaker, but she might come back because that's what happens to people that are blonde and very, very something or other. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything bad. She's been a Doctor Who, and she's been, some people say bad, but I say no, she's pretty good. When you compare her with Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, she's definitely very, very good indeed. Shooty Gatwa is the next Doctor Who, but David Tennant is the next Doctor Who, and Boris Johnson is the next Doctor Who, and Liz Truss has regenerated into a big pile of poo, because she isn't the next Doctor Who, she's just the one in between, and Jodie Whittaker, she's the last of her breed. She is going. She was a female Doctor Who, and now we're gonna get somebody else. We're gonna get number 14 or possibly number 10, where Liz Truss isn't anymore because she's gone, and so is this wig very soon because it's gone. And hello, the one person is here. Thank you for staying so long, because everybody knows that the last Doctor Who is the one that will end it all. Will the Master regenerate too into Jacob Rees-Mogg? Is it just you? I think it is just you, because nobody else knows about this. Have you got anything to say? Do you like Cybermen, Ollie? Or do you think they're overrated? Are they better than Daleks? Are they worse than Daleks? Are the Weeping Angels any better than both of them put together? Or are they also overrated because all they do is this, and then this, and then they shoot you back in time, and they suck away your life, and everything is all gone. Is Amy Pond coming back? Is Rory coming back? Daleks are the same as Cybermen. Daleks are better than Cybermen. Yeah, alright then, they're not equal, they are better. But essentially, Daleks and Cybermen are the same thing, just with different things inside of them. And in the reboot, it was the same thing inside of them. The Daleks that came to Earth had people inside of them, and the Cybermen that lived in Earth had people inside of them, even though they had Mondans inside of them, and Khaleds inside of them. But now they've just got people inside of them, just normal, ordinary human beings. Human beings, I never heard of them. And it's been a good few years, and we're gonna end it today, and that will be the end, and we'll have another, hooray, we'll have Russell T Davies will be back again. He will be back again. He will be back again. I hesitate to say that he's Boris Johnson, but he will be back again, unfortunately. So, has anybody got any predictions for the upcoming very, very, very soon? If you're watching this live, very, very soon. If you're not watching this live, it's been and gone and done it. And this week has seen the last. I used it for Liz Trust one time this week on TikTok. And it was the only time that I have used it for... I originally bought it. I'm not sure why I bought it. I think I bought it for Angel, but it has got some use because very fortunately, at the same time as I got it, Jodie Whittaker was the new incarnation of Doctor Who, and it was all great and good and marvellous. Yeah, I've just seen this thing on the floor. Look at that. It says, the British first phase of the master plan, which looks like, what the hell, is that some sort of UKIP sort of, unfortunate thing, but actually no, there's an old disused it's not a quarry, it's like a sort of, I think it was a mine works, and there was like a big, it's just called the British Iron Works or something, or Coal Works it was called, and now it's just a sort of piece of wasteland. So in fact that looks like it's something terrible, but it is actually something good. It's regeneration. It is the regeneration of the land, not the regeneration of a Time Lord. But turns out she's not Time Lord, is she? What is she? She is a timeless child, a timeless child, a timeless child. And what is a timeless child? I don't know. Do you know? We are all timeless children, timeless children, timeless children. They create rumors that I'm alive. Yes, timeless children. Now, will we see any more timeless children? Or when Christian goes, well, so will the timeless children. Maybe it was all just an illusion, and there are no timeless children. They are all just an illusion, and everything will go back to normal now. And the Cybermen, who are also Time Lords now, will all go back to how they were before, in the House of Lords, in the House of Time Lords. Because that's what happens when Parliament goes wrong. The Time Lords will solve it, and we'll go back up to the upper chamber and come down, and then the law will be as it was before. I think I'm getting confused with British politics now. And Doctor Who, are the Time Lords the same as the House of Lords? I don't think so. I think they are different things. But anyone predict what's going to happen in Doctor Who? Or anyone predict what's going to happen in UK politics? And is the UK surely going to end soon? It will be the end of it. The end of it. Everything's going to break out. It'll be the end of it. Like Doctor Who. And it will regenerate. Like the British up the road that will regenerate. And the British is going to regenerate. And Britain's going to regenerate too. But what will it be after all of this has ended? We don't know. So we will just have the next season of Doctor Who and the next season of Britain. Britain! What will Britain be when it's all, when the dust has settled and Gallifrey rises and Britain sinks? It's all very much in a balance, isn't it? The UK snapped back to the bulldog. Churchill! Don't talk to me about Churchill! Painter. Good Churchill paint! I'm sorry, that's a producer's reference, and I'm not going to go any further down that. Churchill! Have you seen The Producers? Then you will know that reference, and if you haven't, then you won't. Yes, so yes, I don't know what's going to happen. So I think there's going to be Cybermen in this episode of Doctor Who that's coming up, which is the centennial of the BBC. There's been all sorts of BBC-themed things on the BBC, because the BBC is self-referential at the moment. It's like, oh, everything. Like my parents were watching Strictly Come Dancing yesterday. It was all the BBC, all just everything. The Producers was fun, wasn't it? Yeah. Britain on Top, Girls on Top, Girls on Top. Do you remember that? Dawn French and Ruby Wax and Tracy Ullman and Jennifer. What's her name? Jennifer. I've gone blank. Jennifer Saunders, that's the name. Jennifer Saunders. Like, I remember that. Everyone was like, oh, it's like, she had a character that everybody wanted to do impressions of. She's like, oh. And it was, you know, she wasn't the most interesting character in it, but she was the one the little girls like to do impressions of for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, that was then and this is now, and we will soon be in a different era of the world and Doctor Who. Do you know what to do when everything has collapsed and it has come out the other end? I don't know. The community, the economy, the universe and everything that's in it. We don't know what's going to happen anymore. So, because the UK, it's not the centre of the universe, but I think that people from the UK, especially English people from the UK, tend to think that it is. Now, the people that aren't English maybe don't have quite the same mentality as the people that are very English. I think out of all the people in the UK, the Scottish are very pragmatic, the Welsh are sort of phlegmatic, the Irish are... what's another word that rhymes with that? Also phlegmatic and pragmatic. And the English are... something else. Yeah, problematic, exactly. Very much so, Keon, thank you for saving me from myself. Now, everybody knows that the English are very, 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 very English. Now, John Cleese once said that the English never have any emotion and get very upset about things, and they get very, very wound up and never express anything. And I remember seeing that when I was a child, because he said it about clockwise, which is a thing about an Englishman that gets very, very angry and doesn't express his emotion until it's too late, and he explodes into a ball of anger. And I remember thinking, what do you mean the British don't express yourself? Because I was a small child in Wales at the time, and I'm very, very aware that people do express themselves here, and I'm pretty sure that they do in Ireland and in Scotland and in probably the north of England, and really the only people that don't really express themselves are a particular class of people in the English genre oeuvre, and the only people that don't express themselves are people very much like John Cleese. But John Cleese thinks he is universal, he thinks he speaks for everybody in the country, and he doesn't. Not even a little bit. And nobody's cancelled him. He's allowed to say all of these things. He's always been allowed to say all of these things, but he's very, very concerned that he's not allowed. Everybody is going around cancelling him, and the way that they go about cancelling him is giving him a huge new show on something called GB News, which, to be honest, nobody really watches except people that like to say, I have been cancelled. Have you really been cancelled, Mr. Cleese? I don't think so, please. Has anybody cancelled John Cleese? Because I still see him, and I've mentioned his name about 100 times. And if he was cancelled, I wouldn't be allowed to say his name. I just have to whisper his name. Whisper, whisper, poor little John Cleese. And to be honest, the best thing he did was 40 Towers. And the people that did all the work on that were Andrew Sachs and Penelope Scales. That's not a name. Prunella Scales. Penelope's not a name. Prunella Scales. And his ex-wife, who is called... I can't remember, but she played a character called Polly in it, and she wrote most of it, and she wrote, I bet she wrote all of the funny lines, And she also had the funniest line in the Lumberjack song. Oh, Bevis, and I thought you were so rugged. Except she said it with a bit more of an American accent, to be honest. But what's her name? Oh my goodness, I can't remember her name. So if anybody is cancelled, it was her, because I can't remember her name. If anyone knows her name, can you remind me of her name? Because she was probably the talented one, and nobody remembers who she was. Everybody probably remembers who she was, except for me, because I've forgotten what her name was. What was her name? Let's have a little look. Who was Polly in... Polly want a cracker. Polly. Who was Polly in Fawlty Towers? That wig suits me, thank you. It's a shame that I'm going to have to retire it after today when nobody else, no characters. I suppose I could, if Boris Johnson comes back, I could transform it into a Boris Johnson wig. There. Oh, Michael Fabricant. That very quickly turned into Michael Fabricant. Do you think he'll be the next prisoner? I was going to say Prime Minister. Prisoner, Prime Minister, the same difference. Polly, Doctor Who, not Polly, Doctor Who. Polly, Fawlty Towers. And her name was Connie Booth. Of course it was. Connie Booth. Yeah, Connie Booth. If anybody's been cancelled, it's Connie Booth. Because everyone seems to have forgotten that she co-wrote Fawlty Towers, and she's instrumental in making it funny, I reckon. Because when you think about it, John Cleese has got a very limited subsection of humour, and the people that he makes laugh are the sort of people that like people going really angry and going like that and doing funny walks and going, "This parrot is deceased," or something like that. And that's all he does, really. So, who was the funniest person in Monty Python? I didn't really think that it was the person that it turns out to be. And I think the funniest person in Monty Python was Michael Palin, because all the others were alright. But Terry Gilliam has sort of ruined his copybook and said some pretty awful things and was pretty horrible to Sarah Polley on Baron Munchausen, and he's done some, if anyone's going to be cancelled, but he's not, is he? He's somebody that's done terrible things and hasn't been cancelled. Who else is somebody that's done terrible things and not being cancelled? There's quite a lot of them. I think you can name them all. Think of them. All the people that have done terrible things. Everyone, exactly. Everyone, exactly, Keon. Everyone's done terrible things and nobody's been cancelled except for the people that are just trying to help. And they tend to get cancelled before anybody else. But the people that are like, I'm going to say this controversial thing and do terrible things to everybody else. Oh, you can't do all these terrible things to everybody else without getting cancelled. But I'm going to keep doing them anyway. And I'm going to keep saying them anyway. Right in front of everyone. And I'm never going to get cancelled because I've been cancelled. So there have been certain people that have been shunned and avoided recently. Graham Norton being one of them. Graham Norton's terrible crime was he said that trans people should speak up for themselves and you shouldn't ask him about it because it's none of his business. Oh no, what a terrible thing to say, that the people who it concerns are the people you should be talking to. Oh, what a rotter he is. Anyway, he had to cancel himself. He had to delete his Twitter because J.K. Rowling, wizard extraordinaire, decided that was a terrible thing. And then she's like, oh, Billy Bragg's got a beard. No, she hasn't been cancelled, has she? Not at all. But no, Graham Norton self-cancelled himself for the terrible crime of saying something true that obviously is the case. Yeah, it's like, You don't ask somebody what to do with people. You ask the people what would be a nice way to treat you. Oh, yeah. We'll take that into consideration. Oh, no, we'll just ignore that. What do you think? Shall we debate these people out of existence? Yes, let's do that. No, I don't think so. So it's all, oh, there's nuance, you'll go. But it's not really nuance because there's the baddies and the goodies. Goodies! The goodies haven't got cancelled and the goodies did terrible things back in the day. Oh, yes, this is a little bit like Tim Brooke Taylor. This is Tim Brooke Taylor wig now. Poor Tim Brooke Taylor. He is no longer with us. The only goodie left is Bill Oddie, and he's not on the TV anymore. He used to do lots of bird watching, and he hasn't been on quite recently. He hasn't been on at all. Now, you look at the goodies, which is it was a popular show mainly geared at children, and some of the things that they said in them are hideous and terrible, but it's still largely funny. It's not really been repeated. It's like, oh, you couldn't get away with that these days. Rightly so, some of it, really. But then again, you know, they go, you couldn't get away with that these days. You sort of can, because just this week I saw some stuff happening on the TV, and I was like, oh, can you get away with that on TV? Turns out you can. Quite easily. Nobody cancels you unless you've got a beard and J.K. Rowling takes against you, apparently. This is a bit of a rant now. Doctor Who was the meaning of this live stream. That's what I meant to do. And then I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent about cancellation. And that's not what I meant to do. Because nobody's cancelled Doctor Who. It's still on. But they've probably cancelled Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker too, in a way, in that they are no longer in Doctor Who. Oh no, what are we to do? But Ncuti Gatwa, that's interesting. My mum, she was looking in, oh look, the next Doctor Who. That's coincidence. I was like, oh, it's right there. She was like, oh, who's the next Doctor Who? Is that the next Doctor Who? I'm like, yes. And she's like, how do you pronounce his name? And I'm like, Ncuti Gatwa. And she's like, how is that Ncuti Gatwa? I'm like, Ncuti Gatwa. It's like, it's Ncuti Gatwa. N-C-U-T-I Gatwa. And she's like, how'd you say it again? Ncuti Gatwa. And then I showed it to my dad. He's like, that's not Ncuti, is it? And I said, yes, it is. He's like, oh, I thought it was an E. Oh, yes. Yes, I can see that there. Yes, that's definitely Ncuti Gatwa. Jill. And my mum's like, don't do that. Why you do that? It's like, it is. Just go with it. It's his name. Irish blood up. Irish? Wait, am I Irish? What? Irish? I've got literally 1% Irish according to DNA. And it comes and goes. I got more Native American DNA, according to Ancestry, true fact, than Irish, but it comes and goes. But I've suddenly got some Norwegian and Swedish and Danish that came out of nowhere. But at one point, I also had Melanesian. But I've got, at various points, I've had more Melanesian and or Native American and or Caucasus Mountain DNA than I have had Irish DNA. So there's probably a little tiny bit of Irish in me, but not an awful lot. Mainly Welsh, about 75% Welsh, and other things that top me up to the top. Anyway, you know, that's the whole thing. 75% Welsh does not mean 100% Welsh, but it means mainly. I had a conversation or a sort of contretemps. Somebody saw my Pyramids in Wales video and I said that Carn means heap of stones. And he's like, no, it's definitely cairns, it's not Carns. I'm like, this is the reason why. And he said, oh no, I'm sorry, I was tipsy when I wrote that. So if you're seeing Mark, hello. And so he apologised and went, yes, because I pointed out, this is a Welsh word. There's a lot of places called Garndiffeth. That means a desolate heap of stones or desolate cairns. A Garnwen is a white heap of stones or white Kent, and a heap of stones. And also Mulligan Clochty is a mountain of the clock stones, which is also called Devil's Heap of Stones, which is at the top of a mountain. And Lasgarn means blue heap of stones. Blue stones, because lass is a mutation of glass, which means a blue. Or it used to mean green as well, but now girth, is that how you say it? Girth is green. I can't remember. Anyway, it didn't used to be that the Welsh didn't have a separate word for blue and green, in the same way that the Greeks didn't have a separate word for blue or green. They had azure, which is a specific type of, but anyway, yes. in fact, there's all sorts of stuff about ancient mariners that write about the sea, that talk about it being blood, the dark blood colour, like the sea is blue or green, but it's the colour of blood. It's the colour of blood, blue or green. It is if you look on your wrists. It's a whole sort of blue blood. Anyway, whatever. I don't know where I'm going with that, but Doctor Who is ending very soon. In 15 minutes or so it will end. But it won't end because it's coming back next year. But it's the centenary of the BBC today. And next week it is 60 years of Doctor Who. Doctor Who. Doctor Who. It will be 60 years in November the 23rd, I believe. 60 years of Doctor Who. But it's 100 years of the BBC, which is really, really confusing because everyone's like, Doctor Who hasn't been going for 100 years. No, it hasn't. And to be honest, BBC hasn't really either, because the BBC was the British Broadcast Company, and now it's the British Broadcast Corporation, and now it's the BBC. Anyway, it was originally a private company, and then it went public, as in for the public, not as in a publicly limited company, more of a publicly owned company in which you have to pay a license fee, and if you do not pay the license fee, then that will be the end of me and you, because they will put you in jail and they will throw away the key because you have to pay the fee, the BBC license fee, and for that you get some radio and some TV for the BBC license fee. You can get away with not paying it, but it's really, really awkward if you've got a TV. Then you tend to have to pay the license fee, but only if you watch the live TV or the BBC catch up on the TV, or a computer, or a pad, or an iPad, or a phone, or a iPod, or a laptop again, or maybe a desktop again. You still have to pay the license fee if you watch the BBC or any live TV, or you will go to prison and they'll throw away the key. They'll throw away the key because you have to pay the license fee. It's a sort of tax on entertainment, really. You can't really get away with being a person that lives in a house. You only have to buy one. You don't have to buy one per person. You have to buy one per household. So if you live in a house, that is separated into lots of different, it's like if you live in a room in a house, and say if this house was separated into 6 or 7 different rooms, and everybody lived in their room in a separate household, and there was no communal area, then you would have to buy a license fee for every single room that you're in. But if you are a household and you're flatmates and everyone shares a common TV room, then you have to pay one license fee. It's very complicated. If you're a family, one license fee. If you're a household sharing everything, 1 licence fee. If you're living in your own tiny little cubicle with hardly anything at all except for your TV and is the only thing keeping you sane, then you have to pay it just on yourself, on your own, with no help and everybody. So they have to pay like 6 licence fees in one place if they're all split into little bedsteads. Very complicated, really. Oh, curses, BBC. I think it's worth it, to be honest, because you get lots of TV and radio and lots of public services, and you get internationally famous stuff. Although, to be honest, BBC America is a private entity, and they usually get all the things that I eventually get on BBC. So everything that is made by the BBC in a co-production with an American company tends to get shown in America first and not on the BBC, which is not really fair because the British public have paid for that and we should get it first. I think that's only fair because we will go to prison if we do not pay for the things that you will be watching first on BBC America. BBC America. BBC Worldwide is also a private part of the BBC. And it used to be that the Radio Times used to be part of the BBC, but that is separate now. It used to be that the Radio Times only had the BBC programme and the TV Times had all the ITV programmes. And then Channel 4 came along and everyone's like, oh, what do we do now? So they changed the whole licensing thing and now everything shows everything. So you can just get BBC, you get the Radio Times if you're still getting these things, and you get all of the listings for all of the different channels, or you get the TV Times. Although, to be honest, I mean, I used to work for a listings magazine called What's Satellite and Digital TV. It had various incomes. It's What's Satellite TV to start with. It's What? Satellite? What's Satellite and Digital TV? And also Better Satellite I also worked for. Anyway, Better Satellite was more of a sort of, it was mostly about the technology, but they had a few articles that I mostly wrote about the TV programmes that were coming up on satellite. But on What Satellite and Digital TV, I was in charge of the listings. We got the listings in and we got them a few months ahead of time. So it was a monthly magazine. So we get them about 3 months before we go to press and we put them in. And I would find little highlights and I'd write the little highlights and I'd write articles all about the shows that were going to be on. And then the way that it changed, by the time the magazine came out, 3 months later, everything on the schedule would be different. Like, I wrote an article about Oz, the last series of Oz, which is a prison drama. I was like, yay, I'm really excited about that. And when it came to pass that Oz came to the TV, it did not come to the TV because they decided to show Big Brother instead. And so it wasn't on. It might have got shown eventually, but I never got to see it because I just didn't, because it was like shown at 1 o'clock in the morning at some obscure time that I didn't. So I'd written about that. So back in the day, you had listings magazines and they were physical magazines and everybody bought them and you would be very excited and you would go, I will watch this thing. But then there was EPG, the Electronic Programme Guide, which just shows you what's on as it's on. You've also got the computers and the internet, so you know what is on. When is that on? Oh, I'll wait for that. And then you don't really. And then people don't even watch scheduled broadcasting anymore. I bet most of you just don't even wait for it to come on TV. You just stream it or download it on demand. So there's no need for listings magazine. So the reason that I'm not working as a listings magazine TV journalist anymore is because there's no need for me. I am redundant. Very much like Jodie Whittaker and Liz Truss. I am redundant now. It's the end. No more listings magazines. No more Liz Truss. No more Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who. That is the end of us. Who needs a watch? I don't know. Do you need a watch? I will end this now, and you can go and Doctor Who, which is in a minute or two, so I will stop it now. That is the end of this, and in a couple of minutes' time, you can watch The Last Doctor Who and predict who will be the Prime Minister too, and that will be the end. That will be the end. A watchman needs a watch, exactly. Waiting for the end of Strictly Come Dancing, and oh yes, decided not to watch it this year. Yes, okay, that's good. That's probably a good idea. And now I will go and watch Doctor Who. And you can too if you are in the UK and you've got a TV license, obviously. And if you're not in the UK, then you can see it at another time in another way. Who does what? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going now to watch the Doctor Who and say goodbye to this Liz Truss stroke Jodie Whittaker wig, which I suppose, yes, hang on. Now, there you go. I'm now Michael Fabricant and everything is good in the world. Michael Fabricant wig. And then it's a Boris Johnson wig. Hey, I can still use the wig. Hooray. Everything. Yes, she's beheaded. Bye-bye. Poor Jodie Whittaker. Poor Liz Truss. Bye-bye. That's the end of you. Yay, I'm David Tennant. All right then. I see clown makeup. Maybe another time. So I will go and watch Doctor Who. Have a lovely week and I'll see you next week. I'm still in Wales until the Tuesday after next. So I'll be in this background probably. See you very soon. Bye-bye.